Dank times, Danker thoughts, sweet vibes and taking it sleazy. The dankness is taking over, nonsense is dancing through his mind. Oh, the dankness is taking over. Dank times, Danker thoughts with Angelo Grosso.
Yo. Welcome to another episode of Dank Times, Danker Thoughts with me, Angelo Grosso. And if you can hear the blue jay out there squawking, apologies. But I live in a fucking enchanted forest and I'm just a Shrek-looking Disney princess. Just trying to do his, her best. His, her, them, they, zay, best. Whatever. Identify as a cosmic clown. Oh, how's everybody doing? I hope you all had a good couple days since I last spoke to you. What's been going on with me, you ask? Well, thanks for asking. It has been a pretty eventful couple days. I will catch everybody up. Over the weekend, I had a cousin's wedding to go to. She is my second cousin. I believe she's 29 or 28. She is robbing the cradle and is marrying a young man who I believe is 25 or 26. And I was told that it was a very small, intimate wedding due to a myriad of reasons. Mostly because of the pandemic, and at least on our side of the family, people tend to be old and fat and unhealthy. So I was invited through the grapevine. I actually was not handed a physical invitation. It was all word of mouth, but I was invited by my cousin, the bride's mother. And so I said, sure. You know, I've been on this family kick lately. I've talked about it on previous episodes. I'm just trying to get in touch with some of my extended family. And I thought this would be a good opportunity. Even though I was told very small. So I was sent a screenshot of the invitation from the bride's younger sister, another one of my second cousins. She just graduated from University of Washington. She was on the last two UW softball teams. I think one of them won the softball college championship, so good job. I was told these things. It's small and that it's super casual. Now, the side of my family that was showing up, they tend to be kind of country folk. And I don't mean that as a derogative. I'm just talking about they tend to be, blue collar, earthy people, cowboy hats, bolos, tight blue jeans, moderate to conservative, but lovely, great people. Lovely, great people, the best. So anywho, it took me over an hour and a half to get to this place up in Snohomish, and I wish I wrote down the venue because I have been to probably 30 or so weddings in my life, if not more, and I have seen some awful venues, and I've seen some pretty good venues. The place I was just at for my second cousin's wedding, top 5 easily. It's in the middle of nowhere, but that's kind of its specialty in a sense. It was just a gorgeous day in terms of the weather. It wasn't too cold, it wasn't too hot, not a lot of wind. It was a comfortable low 70s. And it was just a beautiful venue, very green, very lush, it was wonderful. I just wish I could remember the fucking name. But anyway, I got there about 15 or so minutes before the ceremony was due to start. Now, I want to repeat, I was told to be casual. So what's casual to me? A nice black polo, very nice so far, and shorts. Drawstring shorts that were probably go up halfway up to my thigh, so showing off a little bit of my creamy white inner thigh there. But I thought, hey, these are country folks. No one's really going to care. No one's going to be dressed to the nines. There should be no suit and ties. So I should be okay. Well, I parked, was walking into the venue, and I was getting stared at by everybody, young and old. And everybody was kind of sizing me up like, who the fuck let this jabroni in here? And I should also point out, as I was walking in, I recognized exactly 0 people. I saw no family, and I saw no friends of the family. So for the first couple seconds there, as I was walking past everybody, I thought I was genuinely crashing a wedding. I thought I was in the wrong venue because I was not given a physical invitation that had all the address and directions. I was told secondhand. Thankfully, the groom came out of wherever he was changing, and he saw me and waved me over, and I gave him a hug and told me, oh, I'm happy you showed up, blah, blah, blah. He didn't care that I was wearing shorts, but he probably had other things on his mind. So then I walked further in, and then I saw my aunt and uncle and my cousin and his wife, and of course the bride's family, my cousins. And I thought, well, this is okay. But that was really it. Oh, no, and I take it back. One of my second cousins and her husband showed up a little bit later. So that was it for the bride side of the family. There was only about 10 of us. However, on the groom's side, there must have been 30 people. But, you know, that kind of fits. My second cousin who was getting married, she does have anxiety and nervousness, and she's kind of a quiet gal. So it made sense that she kind of wanted to keep it small. I mean, I felt so bad for her later in the evening when they were doing, you know, the first dance. She looked mortified that everyone was watching her dance, but it was a beautiful wedding, beautiful wedding. But good God, was I roasted from wearing shorts. Whew! And I looked around. I was the only person under the age of 60 that had shorts on. I take that back. There was a fat teenager, probably 14, that had military style or military design cargo shorts. But, you know, a fat 14-year-old, that doesn't really count. So I was getting roasted by family. And, of course, I took pictures and posted them on social media, and I got roasted there. I was getting a lot of shit from everybody. And let's face it, I deserved it. I thought that it's going to be in the 70s. I'm going to be drinking wine. I'm going to be dancing. I hate sweating. And I really didn't want to see pictures of myself later on with, you know, you look like you're just glistening like a pig on a spit, you know? I didn't want that. I hate when I see photos of myself and I'm red in the face and I'm sweaty. I look like Chris Farley before he died. And I just don't like that. So I thought, shorts. And it worked. I did not sweat. I was not red-faced. It was pretty good. So mission successful for the shorts. However, style-wise, ooh-wee. Any single ladies there, I'm sure the vajayjays dried right up when they saw me. But I have to point out that it was not only was it a great wedding, but I was also able to talk to a few of the younger cousins of mine. I keep saying cousins. For the lack of a better word, these are my cousins' kids. I've said it, I'll repeat it again, because I've talked about it ad nauseum. I'm sick of repeating myself. I'm 35 years old. My cousins, they all tend to be mid to late 50s. So I don't have a lot in common with them. We're not that close. Their kids, second cousins, are now anywhere between 19 and 29, which the 29-year-old just got married. She's the oldest. And so I'm kind of right in the middle, but I have more in common with 20-year-olds than I do 50-year-olds. Go figure, right? Maybe it's this fucking Peter Pan syndrome that I got going on here. But I was able to talk to 2 of my second cousins there. One of them, I did not know her name. I did not know how I was related to her. I'm not even sure I had ever seen her before. But I was then reminded that the last time I saw her, must have been 15 or so years ago. And she must have been 10 years old. And I would have been, about 20, early 20s maybe. So you could forgive me for not knowing. And she didn't know my name either. And when she asked me who I'm related to and I gave her my mother's name, she had no idea who my mom was either. But we hit it off. Her and her husband, great people. I took my vape pen over there, of course, and so they were like, okay, you're the cool cousin. So we're all getting high. It was an open bar for beer and wine, but I stuck with the red wine, and that was dope. And it was just nice to connect with some family. And we exchanged numbers, social media stuff. We're going to try to get together soon around Thanksgiving. The second cousin, who I met for the first time in 15 years, she's on the board of Hemp Fest. So she got all excited when she found out that I also like the ganja and that I have a podcast called Dank times Danker Thoughts. And she was all excited. So we may cross promote here. And her, well, I shouldn't say husband yet. They're actually engaged, but they're getting married on Labor Day weekend. But I kind of was invited, but not really. I'm not going to push it. So I'm not going to go unless I get asked by them. But it was just nice to catch up with everybody. And I was able to talk to the bride's sister, one of my younger second cousins. She just graduated from UW, the softball player. And I said, what is your feeling with family? Do you have any aspirations of getting together for holidays or to help each other out? And she got so excited, it was like I was talking to myself. And all of the concerns I had, she shared. And I really started to open up to her. I told her it's always kind of felt like I had a missing piece of my life when it comes to family. Because for whatever reason, my mother's side is just not that close with my generation, probably because there is nobody my age. And I'm sorry, but there's not a lot in common between me and my cousins who are in their 50s with their own families and shit, and they're not even close to one another. So I tend to hang out more with my aunts and uncle, but they're in their 60s and 70s. We just lost one, and two of them look like they're going to go any day now. And I just was feeling kind of down in the dumps about not really having a connection with a pretty large family on my mother's side. So it's nice that I'm slowly chipping away at that kind of Berlin Wall type situation we have amongst ourselves for no reason. We didn't do this on purpose. It's just the way it is. And so it was good to hear that I wasn't the only one that felt this way. So we'll see what happens because, it's easy to talk and it's harder to actually show up. But I opened my house to them. They opened their houses to me. We talked about the upcoming holidays. So I'm really crossing my fingers that something happens. At the very least, I think the bare minimum that I can do is probably start a Instagram or Facebook thread, messenger thread, you know what I'm talking about? Not an email thread, I'm not a boomer, but something like that, or a text thread, something. Just so we can catch up, and I'm not shitting around here. Next time we all do meet, I'm going to bring name tags. We're all going to wear them. We're going to write our name, who we're related to, and how are we related to everyone here, Because it's embarrassing. I should know, at the bare minimum, these people's names and how they're related to me. Is that asking too much? And if you think my father's side is any better, far worse. My father's side is so small considering we're Italian, and the stereotype is that Italians are like the Irish, like we're just rabbits, we just reproduce like a motherfucker. But not really. To my knowledge, I have no siblings from that side. I had two uncles, both of them are dead. One never had children that we're aware of. One had two kids, my cousins, but like on my mother's side, they're in their 50s. They don't have a lot in common with them. One of my cousins on my father's side, actually both of them never reproduced. So I'm the youngest cousin, and I haven't reproduced that I'm aware of. And so what am I supposed to do? My father has cousins and they've had kids, but they're so far removed, and I don't think the majority of them live in the country. I have been told that there is some Italian family outside of Italy, of course, in Argentina. And I think, oh, that's not good. That's where former Nazis go. And I know that if they're former Italian World War II soldiers living in Argentina, it doesn't look good on the family resume. Because my grandfather, on my father's side, he fought for Italy during World War I. So it only makes sense, kind of logical, that his kids would have been World War II age. And if they were Mussolini fascists, maybe they also fled to Argentina like some of the Nazis did. I think Nazis went two places after World War II, Argentina and then the NASA space program for America. But anyway, Shorts Gate at the wedding was fun. I just got off a team meeting with some coworkers, and one of my coworkers is going to a wedding in New York. I asked her to tell me how many people wear shorts at that wedding and get back to me to see how crazy I was. But yeah, overall, lovely, lovely wedding. And it was so nice to meet and catch up and to kind of game plan with some younger family. And it's good to know that I'm not the only one that's been feeling like I've been, if I'm a puzzle, there's been some pieces missing. And one of the main pieces, I'm talking, maybe the missing family piece would be like a corner piece on a puzzle. One of the main pieces on a puzzle, you got to get those four corners. And I feel like one of those corners was family and it was missing in the Angelo puzzle. Jesus, that analogy went way too long. But anyway, let's move on from family stuff. But I'm looking forward to the future with family. Oh, what about them Mariners, baby? Believe, believe, believe. As we currently chat here with 5 games left to go, the Mariners are a game and a half out of the wild card. Ahead of us is Toronto and Seattle have been flip-flopping for the past week and a half. Toronto is 1 game out. The Yankees are surging right now, and the Red Sox have lost 3 in a row. I think, who's playing each other? Baltimore is playing the Yankees, I believe. Boston is playing Toronto, or do I have that backwards? Boston's playing Baltimore. Toronto's playing New York. So we need the Yankees to win. We need Boston to lose, and of course, we need to keep slaughtering Oakland. I mean, it's good to eliminate Oakland like they've eliminated us time and time again since 2001. In fact, if I had the patience and if I had a higher level of ADD, I would spend a lot of time looking at the past 15 or so years to see how often the Mariners were kicked out of the playoffs by the Oakland Athletics. It tends to be them and Houston, if I'm not mistaken. Texas and the Angels don't really get us that often, to my knowledge. But, oh my God, that game last night, we were down early, and we were not producing, and then all of a sudden, like that, Mitch Haniger hits a 3-run home run. Next time at the plate, another 3-run home run. Ty France gets a big double. J.P. Crawford keeps getting on base. Every single night, there is a new hero for the Seattle Mariners. Some nights it's Old Man Seager. Other nights it's Luis Torrens coming off the bench. A couple of games ago, it was Carl Raleigh, the young catcher. And even though we still have a negative run differential of 52, staggering. It's just staggering. We are 87-70, and we have a real shot of getting 90 victories. If you would have told me beginning of the season that the Mariners would be a game and a half out of the playoffs on September 28th and we would probably get 90 wins, I would have said, I'll take that bet. How much do you want? I'll put my investments up. I'll put my house up. You want my soul? You can have it. It's already far gone. But I love it. I love it. Even if we don't make the playoffs, I will be a little upset. Don't get me wrong. But we have so massively overachieved that I don't see how any common sense Seattle Mariner fan can't look back at 2021 and say this season was a disaster or a disgrace. Quite the opposite. It's a magical season. Once you think we're done, we just keep winning. We lose a series to the Royals, and you think, well, there goes our chances at making the playoffs, and then we win 5 or 6 in a row, coupled with losing streaks by the Oakland, losing streaks by Cleveland, losing streaks by Toronto, and we're right back in it. Do I think we're going to make the playoffs? Fuck yeah! And I've been following all these Mariners on Instagram. They're losing their shit, you know. Oh, I love it. I love a pennant race, baby. Love it. I've always said I would have traded in the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl victory for a World Series championship. Within a second, I would make that trade. And since we're speaking of the Seahawks look like they couldn't even beat UW at this point. It's amazing to me that we even beat the Colts to start the year off. And before I get too worked up here, I have to keep reminding myself that it's only 3 games into a 17-game season. However, we're already 2 games back of the Arizona Cardinals and the St. Louis Rams? No, they moved. Los Angeles Rams. And the Los Angeles Rams look like the best team, not only in the NFC West, but in the entire league. I don't think the Buccaneers could beat them. I don't think the Ravens could beat them. I was a bit prickly on Matt Stafford. I thought he was kind of a mediocre quarterback at best because he's been on some good Detroit Lions teams. Not many, but a few, and they never did anything. But now that he's got a good head coach and a damn good defense and a great supporting cast, I mean, he and Cooper Kupp look like they've been playing together for a decade. I'm scared of the Rams, even more so than before the season started. The 49ers barely lost to Green Bay, but they're 2-1. And Arizona, I can't really say Arizona is a great team, but they look head above shoulders better than the Seattle Seahawks, which I'm not sure if we could beat a team right now. I honestly don't think we could beat the Jets or the Giants or the Jaguars or any other 0-3 team. The Minnesota Vikings just steamrolled us. They did whatever they wanted to do with us. We could not stop the run on defense. We couldn't pass the rusher on defense. We couldn't stop halfback sneaks. We couldn't stop screen passes. We couldn't stop deep balls. And it was just embarrassing. And just like week 2, we came off really hot, scored 17 points in the first half. Poor Jason Myers missed a field goal to snap his streak, which was the 4th longest in NFL history. Oh, you poor fuck. He came so close to getting in the top 3. But I don't think it's time to panic yet. But we play the 49ers next. We have to win against the 49ers. If we lose to them and we're 1-3, then it's panic time. Because now you've lost to the Vikings and the 49ers. You've lost 2 NFC matchups and a matchup in your own division. And I don't think the Rams or the Cardinals are going to be... Wait, they're playing each other if I'm not mistaken. So I take that back. The Rams and the Cardinals, I believe, are playing each other in week 4. So one of them is going to be 3-1, but the other is going to be 4-0. You have to keep pace. We have to be 2-2 at this. Now, if we lose to the 49ers, then I think we may need to start looking at some personnel changes. I know some of the veterans on the team love themselves some Ken Norton Jr. Now, for those of you that don't know or don't care about sports, I won't spend a lot of time on this, even though I'm looking at the clock and I've already talked about it for 10 minutes. But fuck it, it's my podcast. So go fuck yourself. Go start your own podcast and talk about what you want, you jabroni. Ken Norton Jr. has been on the team a long time. And the last 2 years, I haven't seen adjustments made at halftime to correct issues. We were on pace to have the worst defense in NFL history last year before we kind of turned it around in the second half and we made the deep run, and then we got slaughtered in the playoffs. I would have fired Ken Norton then, but instead, we brought him back. We did fuck all in the draft for our defense. Really, really fuck all. And if I'm being painfully honest, we did fuck all in free agency as well. We loaded up on the offense, which, hey, I'm all for that. I like that we traded for Gabe Jackson at right guard. He looks like a mainstay there. He looks good. But we used our first pick in this draft on a fucking wide receiver that's $180. He took 1 hit, this DS Scridge, and he's been out for 2 weeks. Come on! Did you really need a 3rd or 4th receiver that badly? We needed pass rushers. We needed defensive line help. We needed secondary. I don't trust anybody in our secondary, meaning corners. And Diggs, I like you, Quandre Diggs, and I know you're looking for a new contract, but Derrick Henry made you look like a bitch, and you really didn't do all that well against the backup in Minnesota. And Jamal Adams, We gave up so much for a hybrid safety. Every New York Jet fan that I saw was like, thank Christ Jamal Adams is someone else's headache now. He's not a linebacker. He's not a pass rusher. He's not a safety, and he's not a corner. What the fuck are you, Jamal Adams? You're a gadget player that can do all the things okay. I would even say above average, but he's not excellent in any one facet. So we're paying him like 17 million bucks. He has no sacks, no interceptions. He may have a pass defense, and he does tackle behind the line of scrimmage, and he is a decent tackler the majority of the time, but come on, you gave up a king's ransom for a fucking safety that you didn't even need at the time. And you let Frank Clark walk, and you never address that. You let Jaron Reed walk. You never address that. You have a bunch of young players and old-time veterans on the defensive line. And as much as I like Poona Ford and Brian Monet, at this point, they're just names. Alton Robinson, LJ Collier, Rasheem Green, we have quantity, but not quality. I do like, what's the second-year player that's basically his rookie year? Darrell Taylor. He looks okay, but he's still learning. And Kerry Hyder got hurt. Antoine Woods looks good when he's a run stuffer, but he has no pass rushing ability. So I don't understand the philosophy on defense through the draft or free agency or trades. We kept assuming that some diamond in the rough was going to show up from a defensive end that we drafted in the fucking 5th or 6th round. I mean, come on. I mean, D fucking Eskridge in the 2nd round, there was some pretty good defensive line talent still there. And I'm not calling Jordan Brooks a bust, our first round pick last year, but on the one occasion that we kept the first round pick, we used it on a linebacker when we already had Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. And the previous draft, we drafted 2 linebackers and Ben Burr-Kirven and Cody Barton, and we used it on a run-stuffing linebacker? Not a pass-rushing linebacker, mind you. And there was some extreme talent left at that position. Oh, I forgot. The draft earlier, or the draft before that one, we did draft LJ Collier, but he looks like a bust after 3 years. Malik McDowell never played it down for us. I mean, you have to look at the last 5 or 6 drafts, besides DK Metcalf, and I do like Damian Lewis, the left guard. I can't really... Oh, Chris Carson. He was a 7th round pick. That's a steal. Nothing else is coming to mind, people. So I don't think it's to panic yet with the Seahawks. But, all great things must end. All great dynasties end. It happened with the Chicago Bulls in the 1990s. It happened with the New England Patriots in the last 20 years. Dynasties end. Could this be the ending of the Pete Carroll, John Schneider, Russell Wilson dynasty in Seattle? It could be. It could be, We're 1-2, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any easier. We don't have any reinforcements coming. And unless we figure out something fast, we're looking like this could be Russell Wilson's last year with the Seahawks. And even though we did sign Carroll to an extension, who gives a fuck? I don't think Pete Carroll's replacement is currently on the team. And as much as I like John Schneider, he's really struck out in the draft the last few years. And for the most part, I would say he's hit more than missed on free agents and trades. But when you give up such draft capital for players like Percy Harvin, Jimmy Graham, Jamal Adams, and then you just don't know how to use them, why do you keep doing it? We need these draft picks. We have so many holes on defense. As much as I love Bobby Wagner, he's a Hall of Famer. He is missing some tackles. Anyway. All I can say is, God bless the Seattle Mariners. Thank God for the Seattle Mariners. Seahawks, what the fuck's wrong with you, man? Figure your shit out. But anyway, enough about sports. Let's move on to everyone's favorite topic, politics. And even though I don't really care about this Gabby Petito chick, I feel obligated to at least address it since it's being covered by 24/7 News. Almost every podcast I watch and listen to has said something about it. So I'll get it out of the way quickly. I think she was young and stupid. And I don't know why anyone would ever stay with an abusive partner and go on a goddamn road trip. I'm sure all of you that have been following this case as intently as most bored, quarantined Americans are, is that her boyfriend, who everyone and now is assuming that he killed her, what is his name? Brandon something? It doesn't matter. I'll just say the boyfriend. I don't remember his name. Her boyfriend was arrested in Utah a couple weeks prior to her death, I think. And she looked like she was getting beaten the fuck up. The police just said, you know what, let's just separate them. So there was warning signs, of course. But when you're young and stupid and in love, and she was attractive, he was attractive, you're going to do stupid things like go hiking for multiple days at a national park, which I don't know if most of you know this. A lot of serial killers hang around national parks and pick off people like this. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's, high enough. And of course the boyfriend has to be the first suspect, and he gets arrested and then released without charges, and then he's fleeing somewhere. He's got to be having family help or something. I don't know. I don't care. It's just, I don't really care. People get killed every day in this country. It's very sad. I think this one is getting special attention because they're both young and attractive people. I don't think it's, however, this what is this buzzword that just got created? Missing white woman syndrome. I don't know if I believe in that. Well, I'll say this: they do have a point. I read a little bit about it before I hit record here, and they are correct in the sense that the mass media rarely covers a death like this and like a manhunt like this for non-white people. At least I haven't seen it. You have to be incredibly wealthy, like an O.J. Simpson, a Tiger Woods kind of person to get your name in the press like this. Now, I think this case cannot be used for missing white woman syndrome, because if that was the only thing about her, is that she was white and attractive, then I would probably agree with this missing white woman syndrome. But they were pretty big influencers online, and they've been posting, videos and photos and shit about this trip for a long time. And so, they're pretty popular online. So I think that the online sleuthing helped make this case big time. And in fact, I would say the online sleuths actually have done a better job than the cops in a lot of senses from what I've gathered from looking over this case, which again, I could give a fuck about. So I don't think that this Gabby Petito thing is a good example for missing white woman syndrome. I'm sure there's other ones I can't think of right now. And do we really want to have equality when you're talking about death coverage? I mean, shouldn't we be focusing on death? Like, why are people killing each other and shit? Like, let's look at that, because it's America and our murder rate is pretty goddamn high. But switching subjects, but not really, because we're sticking with murder, is that 2 Florida middle school students have been arrested after allegedly plotting to carry out a mass shooting modeled on the 1999 Columbine High School massacre. And this, of course, is the 25th anniversary of that dark, dark, dark day. I was in middle school when it happened, and I remember we had drills after that, and it was horrifying. And you couldn't wear certain clothing. And dear God, help you if you had a trench coat. Lee County Sheriff said on Thursday, 14-year-old, I'm not sure if I want to say their names, a 14-year-old and a 13-year-old students at this middle school in Lehigh Acres had been arrested after deputies investigated information from an 8th grade teacher about the alleged plot on the previous day. Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marceno said the teens both are well known to deputies who had responded to calls to their homes almost 80 times. So before they even were going to carry out this massacre at a school, the cops were called to their door 80 times already. These 2 middle school kids, who are 14 and 13, are being charged with conspiracy to commit a mass shooting. I mean, can you believe this shit? And I'm not going to say anything about, oh, of course it's in Florida. This shit could happen anywhere. The alleged plot was uncovered after the teacher received a tip from students fucking snitches, who claimed that one of their classmates had a gun in their book bag. Deputies quickly launched an investigation and identified Bird and Pruitt as suspects. I'll just say their last name. Fuck these kids. Who gives a fuck? Although a gun was not found, police did discover a map of the school and found disturbing evidence, including a gun. Oh, so they did find a gun. And several knives during a subsequent search of the suspects' homes. Oh, okay. Holy shit. Detectives learned that students took an interest in the Columbine High School shooting. They were extensively studying to learn more about the incident and the shooters. Detectives also learned that students were attempting to learn how to construct pipe bombs and how to purchase firearms on the black market. A 14 and a 13-year-old buying weapons on the black market. This is 2021, baby! The Columbine shooting, which was... Okay, I don't want to read about that. It makes me depressed. Oh, shit. So, this high school, where these two punk-ass kids were arrested, is about 120 miles away from Stoneman Douglas, which they had there was a giant mass shooting there. Oh my goodness, this is very upsetting. Let's see, they talked to the sheriff says we absolutely stopped the mass shooting. You probably did. These kids are fucking wild. Oh wow. As soon as students reported the potential threat, the teacher notified administrators who immediately brought in the school resource officers. Together they emptied the classroom and investigated. Students were safe at all times. Woo. So, I know that this story is focusing on the two kids, Bird and Pruitt, who are, again, 14 and 13, who had guns and knives and were building pipe bombs and were buying more weapons on the black market. They had a prior history with the police. Now, think about this. How good are these poor kids' lives? Because they are poor kids. Rich kids don't do this shit. Well, I shouldn't say that. Actually, that was a dumb statement. But the fact remains, level-headed and a good home life kids do not do these kinds of things. If you're 14 and 13 and combined, the police have come to your houses 80 times and you're that age, you should probably talk about their parents. What the fuck is up with their parents? What is going on in their neighborhood? What is going on in their town? How is this happening? Like, they were going hard in the paint to blow some kids away. That's fucking awful. That's like one of the worst things that can happen. And you can't say, well, these were quiet kids. This is so shocking and surprising. Not with these fucking dopes. 80 times. 80. Now, this is very upsetting to me. And it makes me rethink my stance on capital punishment. Now, I know we're talking about 14 and 13-year-olds. So I don't know if I want to have them capital punished, but I think they at least should be late-term aborted. And then you need to take their parents. And I'll find it hard to believe that their parents are top-notch people, dare I say just average folk. I can't imagine home life is just, ooh, perfect. So you maybe have to go to the grandparents, and you kind of got to trace down the genealogy here. How did it get to this point? Because odds are mom and dad probably have a record as well. And we could probably late-term abort them as well and blame it on the grandparents if they're still alive. Of poverty, and probably the school isn't in good shape either, because if I had a 13 and 14-year-old in my school whose police are going to their house probably every other day, I would probably say I don't want these kids at my school. They should probably be in like a juvenile detention type school where like reformed prisoners teach them history and math, because if these 14 and 13-year-olds get out of line, you fucking know that ex-con ain't gonna take no shit. So again, the school is probably not well funded. So, you may have to late-term abort these kids. And you may have to late-term abort their parents. And you may have to start castrating whoever left is in the family if they have damn near 80 visits by the sheriff's department. I mean, good lord. Whew. And lastly, but not leastly, I've spoken a couple times during this podcast throughout the years that I'm a big fan of Tulsi Gabbard. I've been a fan of her since 2008, I would say. 2010? 2010, for sure. And I've not always agreed with her stances, but I agree with her stances more than pretty much anyone else that considers themselves a politician. She had a little bit of a sketchy past. She clarified most of those things and even apologized and admitted fault when she believed in bad things like being against gay marriage when she was younger. However, the Democratic Party has fucked her over multiple times. She is what I call a moderate progressive, and her being a attractive woman who's also a veteran who did active duty in, I believe, Afghanistan or Iraq, one of the two, and is still active military. She still serves with the National Guard in Hawaii. So she kind of crosses all the T's and dots all the I's when you look at, all the demographics you want to cover. And she's also a woman of color. But she's very open-minded, free-spoken, and I know a lot of those old-school Democrats don't like that. I know a lot of people like to think, well, that's the Republican Party, that's that oppressive, but not really. Both of the Democrats and Republicans share loyalties to big business and big banks and all the corrupt pharmaceutical, oil, I could keep going. And people like the Bernie Sanders and the Squad, for the most part, and people like Katie Porter, Nina Turner, and Tulsi Gabbard were outside of that equation. However, she's always been one to criticize Democrats, which I respect her for. However, she's been going on Fox News lately, which I commend her on. I commend any and all Democrats to go on Fox News and talk openly and freely, because that's who you have to reach. And so I've watched many of her interviews on Fox News. Not really a big deal. Like I said, sometimes I disagree with her. Most of the time, I agree with her. However, lately, she sounds like she's reading off a script from some neoconservative con job. I don't know what's happening. And I'll play you what set off a lot of red flags for me.
Your thoughts about what's happening in Del Rio and how the administration is handling it?
It is an utter disaster and failure, and it's directly attributed to the Biden-Harris administration's open border policy. This is not only a humanitarian crisis, it is a national security crisis, and it's something I've said all along, which is that if we do not secure our borders, then we can't have a secure nation.
So you can understand why that rhetoric's a little shitty. Because if she wants to criticize the current administration, especially their immigration policies or what's happening at the border or with those Haitian migrants and plenty of things to talk about, there's plenty of things that you could critique. But when she says they have an open door policy, bitch, what are you talking about? We are deporting more than Trump ever did. And I don't know if you saw what was happening in Texas with those cowboys were wrangling up some Haitians and kicking them out. We are not letting everybody in. In fact, we're kicking most people that are trying to come in out. But she went on to say that Biden should reverse his own policy and go back to the southern border policy Trump had, which is keep the migrants in Mexico and then you can filter through them. Instead, Biden reversed that and said, well, you can come here now and just chill, but you can't go across, blah, 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 blah. Which you could argue that made more people want to come up here because now they're not staying in Mexico. Now they're staying in America and Mexico, kind of in between. Now, it's not like we didn't have massive migrant hordes under Trump. However, this one under Biden was bigger. However, this idea that it's an open door policy is something that a Ted Cruz would say. Or that one-eyed fuck Crowley, or Crowley, whatever his name is. It's just not the Tulsi Gabbard I know. And she went on to say some bullshit about Afghanistan, which I agreed with her a little bit on, and then she continued on with some other points, which I more or less agreed with her on. But I could not believe that she's saying this garbage. And then she, of course, tweeted the same bullshit message about, oh, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, open door policy. She went on to say some bogus stats about the majority of people that are coming through are helping the drug cartel and the violence and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, they're not. And what happens is when you keep them in Mexico, they have a higher chance of getting involved with the drug cartel down there because they're staying in Mexico. And by the way, it's not really a good policy to force these people to just stay over in Mexico instead of our border. It's just, I mean, it's not good for the migrants to stay like that for anywhere. I'm not saying they should come over here or go over Mexico. I'm not an expert on that. I'm just saying you need to probably think of what's best for them. Just because they're not on our border, it's just this out of sight, out of mind mentality. That's not really a fix or a good idea or a decent plan. It's definitely not a humanitarian plan, which she boasts about all the time. So I am hoping Tulsi is just getting some bad advice. I don't know what cunt asshole was telling her that's a good idea to say some bullshit like that. It infuriated me. I, of course, got super dramatic and was talking to some buddies about it who are also Tulsi fans, and it was a little 50-50. I did use some dramatic language, like comparing her to Tucker Carlson, which was not okay. But Tulsi, just use the correct stats and just use the correct information, and you can critique the Biden administration so easily. But to say bullshit buzzwords like open door policy, are you fucking out of your mind? Ridiculous. And saying the majority of people that are crossing illegally are helping the drug trade. What are you talking about? Unequivocally false. So I'm hoping she figures it out. I see online a lot of people are losing their shit. There's a lot of people that are, completely off the Tulsi wagon, but I don't even know what the fuck her plan even is. She's no longer serving Hawaii. She retired, and so I'm guessing she's going to do a podcast, which I would give it a shot. But if she sounds like this bullshit rhetoric, I'm fucking out of there, man. I've donated money to this bitch multiple times when she was running for president. I truly believe in her, and I still do, because I haven't always agreed with her, but this is probably the most insane, angering thing I've ever heard her say, at least in a long time. So, get your shit together, girl. All right, I think we can wrap this mofo up quickly here, but in closing, some more crazy shit has been happening, but this time, positive. I've been kind of feeling down in the dumps over the last few months because I missed out on a couple trips. I missed out on my 4th of July trip because my old man was in the hospital. I missed the big Idaho trip with my boys because I got that stomach virus literally the fucking day before and I was shitting my goddamn brains out for 3 days. God damn it. That fucking infuriating. But anyway. So, I've been feeling down in the dumps because I missed out on all that stuff. And out of the blue, literally within 3 days of one another, I was invited to go meet a friend in the Dominican Republic. I was invited with another friend to go around a Christmas vacation around Germany, Vienna, and Austria. And I was invited by another friend to see if I was interested in going to Iceland with him. Just out of the fucking blue. Out of the fucking blue. I would love to go to all 3. I tallied up my time off, and if I play it smart, I could maybe do all 3. I'm not really sure how I would work all that out. These are all just ideas at the moment. I haven't gone to any of these 3 places. I looked up the Dominican Republic where I would be staying, and the beaches are just gorgeous. Of course, Germany, Vienna, and Austria around Christmas time is going to be gorgeous, just gorgeous. And Iceland is number 2 on my travel bucket list, right behind New Zealand. And so it's remarkable what could happen. Just literally out of nowhere to be thrown these 3 lifelines really perked me up. So I have great friends and I love them all. Only Murders in the Building, that show has really done a 180, and I was seriously thinking about not watching it anymore because the last few episodes have been dog shit, and I literally don't care who did it anymore. So I gave the show one last chance last night, and to its credit, it was good enough. It explained a lot of shit. It tried something new. I give it a little bit of respect for that, trying something new. But overall, the show was like an A- the first couple episodes. But then after the Sting episode, it just cratered, and every episode was a fucking F. So then I was like, well, I'm left at the C to C- mess. Do I even give a fuck? But I'm glad I waded in. I don't know why it can't be like What We Do in the Shadows. Every fucking episode is a banger. The last episode, Hilarious. Hilarious. I love that fucking show. So if you're not watching What We Do in the Shadows and you have Hulu, watch that shit. If you're still watching Only Murders in the Building and you like it, great. That's fine. I have higher standards than you. That's all I can say. And let's see. Oh, I just finished Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's not one of my favorite shows, but I do really like it. Overall, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. The last episode wasn't what I wanted from it, but then again, it kind of was what I wanted. And, of course, I was crying. But, yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine was a pretty fun show. Pretty fun show. I like Andy Samberg. I like his style of humor for the most part. I like all the characters in that show. I like the interaction. Sometimes a little too loosey-goosey there. It's kind of like Family Guy. I still watch it when I get a chance, and I still laugh every episode, but, I don't know if that says more about me or the show, but I don't know. Anyway, I think we can wrap up here. I'm getting tired, and I just had some dark chocolate covered Rice Patties. Rice Patties? Rice crackers. Motherfucker, Rice Patties. Rice Patties, yeah. I'm sticking my head in the fucking water and chugging dark chocolate Rice Patties. What the fuck, man? This is some Willy Wonka bullshit. I bet Willy Wonka, if he had Rice Patties, instead of water, it would be some kind of chocolatey liquid. So, you know what? My mouth is watering just thinking of it because I'm a fat fuck forever. Even though I've lost a lot of weight and I was getting complimented constantly at the wedding of how much weight I lost. And I still will always look at myself as a little Danny DeVito Jr. So, anyway, on that happy note, I love y'all. Take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And, yeah, try some dark chocolate rice cookies or crackers.